Have you ever sat in a meeting and looked around the room and thought, everyone here knows more than me? They're more qualified, more experienced, more capable. Why am I even here? Can you stop for a second? I want you to really sit with that feeling, because if that's ever been you, whether you lead a nursery, lead a classroom, a school, you're not alone. And this video is for you. What if I told you that the most capable leaders I work with are often the ones who feel the least confident? The experience that qualifies you, your years, your instincts, everything you've given, is being quietly and consistently undermined by something most of us never even name. In this video, I'm going to explain why this happens, what it actually feels like, how many of us are carrying this right now, and most importantly, what you can start doing about it right now, today. My name is Rowena Hicks. I spent over 30 years in schools as a teacher, SENCO, deputy head, and I burnt out recently in a job I loved. So I'm now an accredited coach. I'm an author of 3 books, and I work with school and nursery leaders every single week. I can tell you, what I'm about to share with you is one of the most common things, really common things I see, and it's in the most experienced, most dedicated people. Picture this. You've been running your nursery for 5 years. You know every child, you know what works, you've watched little ones grow and flourish under your care, and then a new member of staff arrives, perhaps fresh from university or training, shiny new qualifications, and suddenly, quietly, you start questioning everything. That knot in your stomach, the voice that whispers, who do you think you are? Or maybe you're a school leader. You've navigated Ofsted. You've managed a team through a pandemic. You've held your staff together when everything was falling apart. But in a leadership meeting, someone uses language you don't recognize. And you think, am I the only one who doesn't know what that means? Should I say something? Or will that give me away? This is called imposter syndrome. I want to be really clear about what that actually means, because it's not a personal failing. It's not a weakness. It's actually a gap between how capable you actually are and how capable you feel. In education, that gap can be enormous. Statistically, about 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. 70%. And it's especially prevalent in high achieving, high caring professions, which, if you're watching this, is exactly where you are, right? I worked recently with 2 leaders. One was running a nursery and one was leading a school. They both had years of hands-on experience. Both were brilliant at what they did. And both told me almost word for word the same thing. They didn't feel good enough because others seemed to be managing better than they were. Not because they weren't doing the job well, not because their children, their pupils, and their staff weren't thriving, but because they looked sideways, compared themselves, and decided that many years of being in the room, making the hard calls, and showing up every single day was meaningless. Does that sound familiar? Here's what I've come to understand. We are wired for comparison. We look outward before we look inward. And in education, qualifications are visible. They're written on CVs, listed after names, announced in meetings. But experience is often invisible, even to the person who has it. Leaders in caring roles tend to put everyone else first, their staff, their pupils, their families. And because they're always looking outward to the needs of others, they rarely stop to look inward at the evidence of their own impact. Here is what I've noticed after 30 years in schools and working with hundreds of educators. The people who suffer most with imposter syndrome are often the most dedicated people. Yeah, they care so deeply about doing a good job that they are hyper alert to any evidence they might be falling short, and they tend to be almost completely blind to all the evidence that they are not. The inner critic is loudest in the people who care the most. Think about that. So let me ask you, do any of these feel familiar? This list. Waiting to be found out? That constant low hum of anxiety that one day someone's going to realize you actually don't know what you're doing. That was me. How about saying yes when every part of you means no because you don't yet feel you've earned the right to have limits? How about downplaying your experience in meetings? Qualifying everything, starting sentences with, I might be wrong, but. How about comparing yourself to colleagues who seem more confident, more certain, more put together, and assuming their confidence means they actually are those things? How about believing your successes were luck, timing, someone else's generosity, not your skill? How about avoiding putting yourself forward for a promotion, a speaking opportunity, a project? Because somewhere inside you, you don't quite believe you belong there. If any of these resonated, you are not broken. You are very human and you are in a very, very good company. So, what do we do about it? Can I suggest 3 things you can start with even today? The first one is name it. The next time that voice starts, the one that says you're not enough, you don't belong, you're going to be found out, I want you to name it out loud if you can, but even just in your head is valuable because that's imposter syndrome. It's not reality. It won't vanish immediately, but naming it creates distance between you and the thought. It moves it from something you are to something you're experiencing, and that's a shift that matters. I would suggest that journaling is really helpful here because in writing it down, you're starting to internalize that thought and it becomes more of a reality for you than just a very fast, fleeting idea. The second thing you can do today is audit your evidence. Get a piece of paper, open a note on your phone, or grab a journal and write down 3 things you have done in the last month that made a real difference. Not what went wrong, not what you didn't get to, but what you actually achieved. Because experience is evidence. Your years in the room are evidence. The children who left your care more confident, more capable, more ready for the world, that is evidence. Use it. And the third thing you can do today is shift from comparing to contributing. The next time you catch yourself measuring your qualifications against someone else's, how about asking a different question? Not what do they have that I don't, but what am I bringing to this? Because a strong team needs different kinds of knowledge. A fresh degree and 30 years of lived experience are not in competition, they're complementary. You need both. One of the things I work on with clients and that I built into my 40-day journal is exactly this, learning to see your own value clearly. And the reason 40 days in my journal is because you need to be watching daily for your impact to change your thinking, to rebuild those neurons in your brain. And when you do, everything changes. How you lead, how you support your team, how you show up for the children in your care. Here's what I want you to take away from today. Imposter syndrome doesn't mean you're not good enough. It often means exactly the opposite. It means you care. It means you're self-aware. It means you hold yourself to a high standard. The work, and it is work, is learning to direct that same care and attention inward to yourself so that you can start to see what the people around you already see in you. You've earned your place. You belong in that room, and the children in your care are lucky to have someone who really cares this much. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Even just saying, yes, this resonates. Do you ever feel like this? Let's encourage each other. I'll see you in the next one.